Well, hello, EKN Nation. Here we are coming to the very end of the 2024 season and a couple of face-to-face shows coming up here over the next couple of weeks, of course, into January as well, as we really have, I think, turned everything towards the 2025 season. We've got Andy Seesemann from the Challenge of the Americas joining us here today. I'll bring Andy in here in a couple of seconds. I'm solo here today. David Cole not able to make it on the show here tonight. We do have one we're potentially putting together for Thursday night as well to talk to Brett Spouty from CKNA South. Obviously, the Winter Nationals coming up, big stuff from them through the winter and springtime for the South program of the Cup Karts North America. So they're coming up as well. But obviously, one of the first races we're going to be getting to is the Challenge of the Americas, the opener in Tucson at the end of January. Our first event for David Cole and I trackside will be the SuperKarts USA Winter Series in Orlando. But again, this is the time. This is when we kind of jump in with our promoter partners and talk about the 2025 season, the next season that's coming up. Let's bring Andy Seesemann in here right now. Andy, man, thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate it. It's almost Christmas, but right around the corner, we're going racing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Rob. Yeah, we'd had our first little snowfall yesterday in the morning, and then it turned to rain, so it got real slushy. And then it was 50 degrees today. So, yeah, it's Christmas, I guess.
That's right. We actually had, it was beautiful. Heavy snow, looked fantastic. Rain the next day, gone. Yeah. So we don't normally get a lot of white Christmases up here near Toronto these days. Hopefully we'll get one this time around, though. But again, I think before, Andy, we jump into the Challenge of the Americas, again, just about 6 weeks away before we kick off what is now an expanded schedule for the West Coast National Program this year, going all the way to June at Utah. Let's talk about Shinko Kart Tires and your Shinko Kart Tires USA program, because obviously this was one of the big news items that came out a number of months ago, that you were becoming the importer for Shinko Tires, a CIK homologated tire. Let me give us an update. I know that I saw on social the first containers landed.
Yep. You've
got tires at FTK and you got boots on the ground. You got tires that have been on the racetrack as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's been anybody who knows this business knows that it's a big project. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of time. I mean, any importer chassis, engine, tire, right? We work in literally 120-day cycles, right? We got to spend the money 3 months ago to get the product in and to kind of get and then this is the ramp up. So now I'm trying to not only fill my warehouse, but supply dealers and tracks. And even though it's the winter time, I mean, it's still, people are out in carts, and it's the West, right? So it's not, it's not Minnesota. So
right.
People are still getting out there. So yeah, first container arrived 2 weeks ago, I think, and already shipped out, several hundred sets of tires. The first couple pallets went out to, one of our track partners, the Colorado karting circuit. They actually had a race this weekend. They had their first kind of entry club race to kind of called the Winter Cup, I think. I think they had, 40 or 50 entries, had some, 206s, some 100cc. They wrapped their rental carts in with it. So, the feedback I got not only talked to Greg Welch, obviously one of the partners, Todd Varney, one of the other partners, and then Lucas Arnett, the track manager, and all three of them said the feedback on the tire was great. People are excited. They had zero problems, and people are ready to go. So it was better than just having a little test. We actually had 40 or 50 carts on the ground, a couple different compounds, our prime CIK compound, as well as the performance green, which is the LO206 and cadet compound. So that was great. And then in addition, we have some teams already, that are going to challenge that have ordered some tires and are already starting their winter testing. So it's been good so far. Very, very happy.
Well, and again, listen, that's it, right? You're literally bringing a brand new product, not one that's not tested before. It's been tested, of course, with CIK and Shinko themselves, but for you guys to be able to bring it in here now and kind of launch it and roll it into the Challenge of the Americas, I got to think that to get it done, to get it started early here, in November and December, that was probably like the first check mark, right? I guess first box would get the tires landed and get them in your shop, but to get them on the racetrack, to get some shops running them, get some of the people that are, some of the teams that are veteran teams, supporters of the challenge ahead of that event in 6 weeks' time. I'm sure you're sleeping a little bit better knowing that the initial feedback was great.
Absolutely. Just having some folks that I know are experienced, and you're always going to have a little hiccup here and there. You always get a story. Well, this happened, that happened. Okay, well, did you talk to so-and-so? They kind of have that figured out, already. So, that's always good. But to get that positive feedback and have the tire on the ground, I wouldn't say it's the last thing I wanted to do, but to show up at challenge with, our 120, 130 and have people dropping tires on and going, what? It's just better to kind of have a trickle in and get a little baseline going and kind of get everybody, on the same program.
Can you drop how far south did the tires get? You sent them down to? Obviously, you mentioned Colorado already. I would assume that some of the again, we're not that far off from the Supernats. How many like SoCal teams or some of the teams that are regulars or NorCal teams that have taken some delivery of tires as well?
We've already shipped tires to Formula Works, Precision Works with Chris Freckleton, Nash. And then Nash is, he has Zach Woodsford, who's running a little program out of Spring Mountain. So we shipped some tires to him as well. I mean, obviously, I shipped tires up in Northern California with Federico and Iltel course. And then our newest team dealer to Challenge America's Nelliton Race Concepts, we shipped tires to Aaron. So, there's already been, and then Gary Carlton placed an order yesterday. So there's already, lots of tires out in several different teams, several different places.
So a really good kind of cross section of the teams we're expecting to see on the challenge this year, right? So they're all jumping on board. So again, before I ask the next question, let's talk about the fact, and this is kind of maybe just for some more insight for people that may not know. That's one of the things about being a tire importer is, you've got tires in your shop, but there's so much money, as you said, already tied in because you normally have tires in the shop. Normally you've got one container on the water and then one container getting filled back at the actual manufacturer itself now. Right?
That's exactly where I am right now. You nailed it.
So there's a ton of money out there as well.
Yeah. Oh, yeah,
I was going to say you're probably sleeping well, but then I forgot the fact you've got a bunch of money out on the water.
Look, it's my business. It's the risk I have to take. I mean, I don't cry about it. I stepped into this role for sure, but you nailed it, right? I mean, the tires that showed up in December were ordered and mostly paid for in October. The tires that are literally on the water right now that will arrive in Portland I think the day after Christmas, and then get shipped straight to Tucson from there, where I'll meet them and unload them with Eric. Those tires were paid for, a month ago. Yeah. And now we're already putting orders in for the tires that are in production that'll go our third container, which won't leave till say in a month or a month and a half. Right. So it's part of the business. Like I said, I'm not asking for sympathy. I'm not. No. But you're right. It causes some sleepless nights, but it won't be so bad once we get to more of a steady flow. Like this is the ramp up, right? Because I'm trying to fill my warehouse. I'm planning for my races. I mean, did I think Colorado was already going to have a race at this point? No. I mean, I thought, okay, I'm good till April with Colorado. All of a sudden there's, hey, I need 2 or 3 pallets of tires right now. Oh, okay. You got it. So then just reprogram your brain, right? So, I've been in the tire business a while, but I've never been the importer. So it just requires some more thought, some more planning.
It's obviously going to give us a good opportunity to kind of transition and move into talking about the Challenge of the Americas 6 weeks away, as I said, to the start of the season in Tucson. For those of you who are tuning in here, if you have any questions for Andy Seesemann right now, good opportunity to throw them up in the comment section of either Facebook or YouTube, and I'll bring them onto the show and get Andy a chance to answer any questions if you do have any right now. I'm sure many of you just get on the phone and call Andy with usually the dumb questions, not the good ones. So listen, let's talk about the challenge. I know registration is open. Before we even go there, let's talk again about the fact that it's an expanded schedule. This is something you haven't done. This program's been around a long time. You have consistency, you've got stability, not only with the fact you've been around for 15, 16 years now, but
Year
also
18, going into year 18.
This is 18. Wow. So 18 years. You've got a stable group of people too. The staff is super stable. Let's talk about the fact that 4 events this year, not the normal 3. You pushed a little later into January because we're going March for round 2, early March, end of April for round 3, and then literally into June. So the middle of June. So I would say we used to always call this the winter series, right? The winter series. This feels more like, and I've kind of said it when I'm talking about it or when I'm writing about it. This really, I think, has become like the West Coast national program. SCUSA Pro Tour on the East, USPKS on the East, Stars Championship on the East. If you're a West Coast driver, and considering the fact that we're talking about Arizona, Northern California, Southern California, and Utah, this is the traveling national series now for the West Coast.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that, Rob. I mean, look, I don't get too fussed about semantics at this point. I mean, if somebody could actually have a true criteria what a national program is, I would look at it and decide if I want to do that or not. But really, is it the number of entries? It's the number of tracks. Is it how many teams? Is it how many time zones? Is it how many states?
Yeah.
Who the hell knows at this point, right? But yeah, I mean, I think I'm in the same categories as the others, and I mean, we check off a lot of those boxes, right? We go to a couple different time zones, we go to 3 different states, we go to 4 different tracks. We go from January to June. I mean, there's no more national than that, at least on our side of the coast, right? I believe, you know, I mean, I'm on a third of the country.
Yeah,
so,
it's like as I said, it's kind of the de facto West Coast national, right? Because
we're not just at one track at one state. I mean, or 2 tracks within 4 hours of one another. I mean, there's a fair bit of distance. But yeah, I mean, heck, going into 18 years, I mean, it's exciting because it changes every year. I mean, there's a lot of consistency, right? There's only a few tracks we can go to that can handle us. Our staff has been consistent for so very long, as we always talk about, right? And then it's the new teams that show up every year. I mean, we have our same core teams that have been with for so long, you know, Ruthless and Forward Direction and Nash and Ron White, you know, Karting Collective and Speed Sense and GFC and Formula Works, right?
Yeah.
Then you got, you know, Precision Works, Freckleton that came on, you know, and then BBR and Vemi, who were with us for a while, then vanished, then come back. I mean, I've heard from both of them that say they may be back again next year. So you just
Italian Motors rolled down into Tucson last year.
Motors rolled out last year, you know, and you know, and then all of a sudden, as I mentioned before, you know, a new team out of the Pacific Northwest, Aaron Nelliton, who was a you know, mechanic under the RPG tent for so long, has run a, you know, Pacific Northwest team, you know, localized there. And I mean, he called me yesterday and says he has 12 confirmations for the first challenge, 8 new drivers that have never been to our races before, which is gigantic, right? Any new blood is gigantic for a program.
Well, and I think one of the things too, Andy, is when you have, like, again, expanding to 4 races, pushing into June, like expanding to essentially over almost, you know, five and a half months. When you do that, all of a sudden, if you're a local guy at Utah, hey, well, maybe I'll do the whole season because I get 1 local race, right? Mm-hmm. The NorCal guys get 1 local race. The SoCal guys get a local race. Arizona people get a local race. Everybody gets that local race, that one that's close. It's not a ton of miles. I think that always kind of draws more people in as well. When you get that one that's kind of you, maybe it's your home track too, right? It's your chance to shine at the home track. So that all bodes well. So registration underway. How is it coming out of the gate?
Let me touch on Utah for one quick point, and another you know, thing that they, you know, Garrett's really smart about, right, is that the Utah program, their club program up there, they just released their schedule. It's the week before my race up there. So if somebody wants to come up there, they want to test. I mean, we haven't had a big race in Utah in a couple years, right? I mean, I think Pro Tour's been there in 3 years or whatever the number is.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So Rotax went there a couple times, but haven't been there in 10 years. I mean, obviously that program is what it is. So there's been a few years. So now you have a club race in early June, and then our race the weekend after. So I mean, there could be you know, some pretty big events right there back to back in Utah. It's
also gonna help the club race, right? Like you said, people are gonna come in likely and do some testing there beforehand, and hopefully we'll see how many of the Utah drivers, the club guys, want to challenge themselves to see, you know.
And we're on the same tire, right? For years, Utah was kind of its own island that was never on they haven't done a Vinco for a long time. They were on Levanto for a while, but they never had a rock race there. Well, they're another one of my track partners with Shinko. So they're a Shinko club with a Shinko traveling series coming in. So now you have back-to-back weekends, same tire. I mean, it should be great, actually.
Andy, what clubs are on board with Shinko right now?
Those are the 2 right now. Those are our 2 track partners, Colorado Karting Circuit as well as Utah. You know, the hard part about tire contracts is, you know, they're always a couple years. So you get, you know, everybody said, oh, but you know, I have 1 more year. I have 2 more years. I just signed it, which is a blessing and a curse, right? Do I wish I could come out and sign up 15 tracks? Yes, but right now I'm ramping up. I'm not sure I can handle that.
Let's be real about that too. Yeah,
I'm already like on the edge. Okay, it's just the programming aspect about how much is this track going to go through 50 sets a year? Is it going to go through 350 sets a year? We don't know. There's no history. There's no data.
Agreed. Yeah.
But I can tell you, I've had multiple inquiries, probably close to 10 inquiries about different tracks and series that say, hey, I want to talk to you, but I can't talk to you until next year. I've had a couple that said, hey, I'm ready to talk to you right now. But we don't start till March or April anyway. So I mean, there's a lot of interest, even from on your side of the border. So I'm super excited about that part of it.
So I was kind of asking about registration a little bit. Obviously, it's open. I know that you've got a big group, but before we even roll that, let's kind of let's roll into the fact that some interesting stuff, of course, happening, as we know, in recent weeks with the announcement that the Race Hero was going away, like flat going away. I know that I think before that happened, you had already hooked up with Keith Warren from Race Select, and that's one of the programs that's kind of Keith is being a karter himself and being a tech guy, has really kind of brought a lot of stuff to the forefront with this Race Select program. Tell me a little bit about that. So let's start with the fact that you're on board with Race Select for registration, and then we can kind of roll into how things are coming out of the gate in terms of numbers.
Well, one, I have to say thank you, because I met Keith through you when we were sitting at the sports book about ready to watch the great Tyson fight.
Yeah, that was fantastic.
That's really the first time I ever met Keith. And, I'm not the most tech savvy guy in the world, and I'm not a super app guy or whatever. And face it, our program's been, in the 120s, 130s. That's been kind of the number for many, many years, right? For whatever reason, the West Coast and the geography and everything else, right? There are things that you can do and pay for with 200 entries that you can't with 120. So for years, our entry program was kind of cobbled together. It was a program I had paid for in the past, but was getting for free, that they kind of forgot about me. It was kind of our own little, PayPal service. So it was kind of cobbled together. And we just decided, I just can't do that anymore. We're at the point where we have to really do something way more professional than that. And luckily, you had introduced me to Keith, and we started talking, and he laid out his program, and it was super easy. He's super, super great to talk to. And he's a Kentucky basketball fan, which is a little weird. I kind of, it keeps me out about that. But anyway, and he eats Mexican food way too many days of the week, even though I love that. But anyway, I digress. He was great to work with. And the great thing is that I can text him and say, hey, what about this tweak? And he could give me, when we were building the program, because everybody's a little different, right? Everybody wants a different report or a different look or a different thing, right? So we signed up with Race Select, and we built it, we launched it, and man, it was a huge success. I mean, first thing we did was start allowing number reservations. We never did that in the past. I mean, Shelby used to have to do a spreadsheet and babysit all the numbers. It just becomes just too cumbersome to do that. And it's like, hey, you plug this in. If you want your number the whole time, it's a nominal $50 fee. Plug it in, boom, it's locked in, it's done. Right? Now Shelby can run the report. It's all there. It's done. And then just to go to the Race Hero side, Keith is talking about maybe trying to integrate a timing program. I mean, he has the technology. It's just about figuring out how to integrate it. And I already told him, if you want us to be your beta test, I mean, I have the best scoring person in the industry. So, I mean, we can certainly make that work too. So hopefully, if it works out, it's great. If he gets something online and we can help him out with that, that'd be awesome, because, I look for long-term partners. As you know, I've had partners that work. Oh, wait, we back?
Yeah, you're locking up on me.
You there?
You're locking up. You're back. Long-term partners.
All right. So, I mean, we have long-term partners with our tracks. We have long-term folks that have worked for me. And if Keith, Race Select, and I become another long-term partnership, that would be great, because I like consistency. It's consistent.
Yeah, in talking to Sean Buer, when registration went live, he said there was a really good hit coming in, which I think is always bodes well when people are excited about the program. They want to get signed up quickly. I'm not even going to ask you where you are registration. We're 6 weeks out. We know what kart racers are like. There'll be a swamp for 2 weeks before, and then everybody be complaining about the late fee when they get to the track. So,
for sure.
Were you happy with the initial registration hit?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, our registrations, we get, initial little blip, and then it kind of, right. Look when we open registration, it's Christmas time, right? So everybody's like worried about Christmas and everything else. Then the year opens and we get and then we literally get 60% of our entries in the last 4 days. It is crazy to me. Now, luckily, in the first several years, I used to get really, I'd be pulling my hair out. This is apparently why I look like this. But, I would just call the teams and say, how many pit spots you need? Well, if I have 2 entries from a team, but they ask for 8 pit spots, I know they're not going to have just 2 entries, right? So I base it off that. I look at the hotel data because usually the hotels end their deals early, which we can position that too.
Yeah, we'll talk to that.
So I look at the hotel data and I go, okay, I know what we're going to get. It's very consistent, but still, it's maddening. That being said, this year we probably got more entries in the first day than we got in the first week the last few years. So it was like,
that's awesome.
The new program, the number reservation system, all that has driven folks to enter a little bit earlier, which is nice for my own sleeping habits, as you say. But,
yeah, right.
But folks, if you want that number, I mean, we all like our number. If you want that number, just register and get it done. I mean, it's not like it comes out of unless you use your debit card, but for most people, it's credit card. So It's going to come out in a month anyway.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Let's speaking of what you just said there about the fact that getting in early, entered early. But listen, when it comes to anytime we're in Tucson, we always talk about the gem show being there. Hotels are always at a premium. So I want to take the opportunity because we're going to be talking to a lot of promoters here, into the end of this month, into January, talk about the programs that are coming up in 2025. That's one of the key things for Tucson, isn't it? Get on that room block super quick.
Yeah, the rooms are huge. I mean, we always go to Tucson and people have asked me in the past, well, we always go to Tucson during the gem show. Yeah, it's always this time of year. We don't go to Tucson. I can't open at Sonoma because it's pouring rain and 40 degrees.
That's it.
I said, and if we go to to one of our older partners, Phoenix, it's right during spring training. So I mean, it's the same problem, right? So you just have to chase the weather, and it is what it is. But yeah, we have a couple good hotel partners. I think the DoubleTree, which we've used for several years, and then there's another backup program on there. So there's 2 small blocks that kind of add up to what we need. It's always mind-boggling to me about hotel rooms because when I didn't really ever do the big team thing, but I would always, when I raced and had customers that raced, right, I would build a program like we're going to do these, 8 races a year. I would make my hotel reservations 8 months in advance. The easiest thing to cancel on the planet is a hotel reservation. It's actually probably easier to cancel than a dinner reservation at some place.
You're right.
So when I get the calls, on January 25th, your hotel deal ended up too early. I just go, really? Come on.
Get it booked now. Get it booked now.
Just book it. Be done with it. Be done with it. You're coming. You spent the money on the team. You've hired a mechanic. You've flown them in. Get the hotel room and register.
So let's talk about Tucson. I know you're talking team owners, right? And it's cool to hear with the Nelton program, right, kind of expanding from where it was. You're going to get your GFCs. You're going to get these teams that your Nash, like you mentioned, the guys Speed Sense, Ruthless, the guys that are always there, Forward Direction, all these guys that come in. In talking to them, what are we thinking about in terms of the shifter kart category? Because the shifters thing is kind of rocking and rolling right now. You had some good entries in shifter. You have over the last number of years. What do you think about shifter and how it's going to look on the West Coast this year?
As long as our the guys show up that should show up, it's going to be great. I mean, I was just looking through this today actually, and I looked at the fact that at our opener we had Daniel Vasile, we had Wick, Lammers, Tandon, Pickett, Gulick, Nick Taylor, Michael Avancino. The only other race that had all those drivers just happened at the Las Vegas Motor Speedway last month, right?
Yep.
It was our race. It was the first race of the season and the last race of the season, right? No other race had all of those, not only top 10 U.S. drivers, but, Vasile was a KZ2, vice champion. You had Nick Taylor, who had won the Rock Cup. Baz Lammers was Baz Lammers, right? So, And Seth Nash told me the other day he signed a partnership with Italian Motors on the shifter car program.
Yeah.
And then in that same conversation, he said he's not going to need 6 pit spots this year. He's going to need 8 pit spots this year. So that pretty much tells me that that's going to come to fruition where he's going to have some more drivers. So
yeah, they ran. Nash actually ran. I know that Davide Fore ran with Italian Motors and Nash. Mm-hmm. I think he was with Italian Motors in Pro and Nash maybe in Master Shifter.
Yeah,
because Nash was jumping in with Italian Motors and the ITAL car, which that's really big news for sure for them as they look to kind of dial things in on their shifter program, because that's not something that Nash has always done. It's kind of been focused more on single speed. So hey, let's adding another team with some more drivers into the shifter program.
It's a good dimension for Seth too, right? So I mean, teams sometimes I don't want to say become one-dimensional, but they get good at one category and they really focus on it because they become good at it, right? But in order to draw all the customers, you need to have, the whole breadth, right? And that's,
Well, I think Andy, with the kind of motion that KZ Racing has right now, shifter kart racing has that momentum right now. You're seeing it on a lot of the programs where you're getting that 40, that 50 number of drivers out there. Listen, that's any team's got to kind of add that, like you said, got to add that program, got to add that category to your whole program because that's where they want to end up going. We're seeing a lot of kids going in that direction right now.
Yeah, and it draws people to your tent, right? I mean, if you have a good shifter driver in your tent or a good 2 or 3 shifter driver in your tent, all of a sudden it opens some of these other eyes, whether it be cadets or junior 100cc kids, like, oh, I want to go over there because that guy's over there, right?
Yeah,
so I mean, it's
at Tucson, those shifter carts are so badass at Tucson.
That track is so great for that. And then, I mean, look what's going to happen with K1. We go to some crazy tracks, right? I think of the 4 best tracks in the Western for sure, right? And
I would agree.
And obviously, we have another one that just come online with Colorado Karting Circuit. I mean, we're not going this year, but who knows what the future holds? I mean, there's definitely a possibility there. I mean, who's to say that the 4 races turns out to be so successful? People demand a 5th, and we go into September, and all of a sudden we're closing the deal at Colorado in 26. I don't know.
The question is, listen, as you grow, is there enough room there? I haven't talked to them. Absolutely. There's enough room.
Absolutely. They have an upper paddock, a lower paddock. They're going to do some graving, and I mean, they've definitely. It's definitely bigger than when we went, like, in 15 years ago. Obviously, I mean. They just have done a better job with making the space usable. It's not just a hillside, right? So it's definitely doable. We can definitely fit, and as long as they build their buildings this next year. I mean, I think construction's supposed to start in March on their buildings and infrastructure. I think it's going to be incredible. It's going to be an incredible place. And then there's, start in January, end in September, go to 5 of the best tracks in the country. I mean, there's nothing better than that. So
anything else right now where we are right now? Obviously, like I said, we're only 6 weeks away. That's kind of ridiculous to me. I know I kind of got busy after the Supernats and things got crazy, and I was running here and there. Just got back from the PRI show. That was a ton of fun. But man, we're 6 weeks away. We're only 3 or 4 weeks away from getting to Orlando, but then we're 6 weeks away from being in Tucson. It's right around the corner.
It goes fast. I mean, I say that every year. I say it at the first, drivers meeting. Like, I feel like we just ended this thing in April, right? And then when I get to the end of the season, which usually was in April, now it's going to be in June. I'm going to be like, man, I feel like we just started, and now it's June. It just goes so fast, right? Look, you and I are old. I mean, life is like a roll of toilet paper. The closer to the bottom you get, the faster the thing spins, right? So it's like, man. But for sure, I mean, Angel's already working on food trucks. I already got him going, right? The tech stickers and Shinko stickers showed up today. We're already, the insurance stuff, I've already, signed that deal. So it's like, it's going. It goes and goes. The plane tickets and hotels for the staff were bought 6 weeks ago. So it's on.
Hey, have you announced the direction yet?
We're going the normal direction. We're going the normal counterclockwise direction.
Good. I like it that way. That's good.
Everybody does. Everybody does.
Better that way.
It races better. It also leads to, the better last turn. The through into the last chicane, right? The left right, where there's always some action.
Exactly. Yep.
So no, for sure, we're racing the typical anti-clockwise direction that we always have. Except for the race last year.
I love it. Well, there you go, folks. There's a great little bit of insight. Number 1 into the Challenge of the Americas. Number 2, of course, into the kind of where we are position-wise for Shinko Kart Tires USA. And you got to be thrilled with the way everything's kind of rolling in the right direction. Like I said, the tire program's going where it needs to be, and some sleepless nights there. But when you're talking to team owners, and I need a little more space, and I got a couple more drivers and a couple of new team owners, and that's the kind of thing you want to hear to bring more people out to the racetrack.
Oh, it's super exciting. I mean, like I said, when they ask for more pit spots and more hotel rooms, it's like, okay, good. That's a good sign, right? And as you know, right, we lose people out of the top all the time, or they whatever they do, whether they stop, the kid gets into girls or high school football and we don't see him anymore, or they go on to F4 or whatever the case may be. But man, we have, like I said, we have our solids that have been with us, and then Aaron Nelliton signing up as a class sponsor today. I mean that's a big deal to me, and it's exciting. It's very
listen. One of the great classes you guys have had is a 100cc senior class, right? The junior and the senior class. But 100cc senior has been a barn burner for the last couple of years, and I want to say there's at least a handful of young juniors that are coming up this year that are making the move up. I know Nico Serfati being one, obviously a former champion of the series, who are moving up into the 100cc senior class. That's going to be, I think, we mentioned shifters, but I got a feeling 100cc is going to be the class to watch this year.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of young bucks ready to. I mean, look, seniors now 14 and a half. So I mean,
right. Yeah.
So,
my God.
But they're going to be pissed off that they have to leave third period algebra, to come race the challenge. But that's okay.
Whatever. Yeah,
get your homework done later. So, but yeah, I mean, it's going to be very exciting. That's what happens every year, right? You get the kids and you get a couple vets in there that are still, that are still, and we call them vets because they're 18. But they are, and they don't want to give up their spot on the top to the young kids. So it's always really fun to watch. And as I watch the entries roll in, it's fun to see which names have moved up and etc. So it's gonna be good.
Well, listen, Andy, I appreciate you taking some time out of a Tuesday. Again, it's Tuesday, December the 17th here, folks. This is episode number 82 of the Face2Face show. As I had mentioned, Andy, thanks for taking the time. I appreciate it. 6 weeks away to get the season underway for the Challenge of the Americas. Back to Tucson once again. Big numbers coming we're talking about here as well. Get registered if you haven't already. And again, as we said, just ready to kind of start off our off-season shows here, getting things dialed in to talk to a lot of promoters as we get set to roll into 2025. And again, another essentially 11 months of racing from January all the way through to November. Again, big thanks to Andy Seesemann for joining me here, folks. That wraps up this edition of Face2Face. My name is Rob Howden. Bye for now.